All right. What's up, everybody? My people in Manhattan, the Boogie Down Bronx, Queens, all right, Staten Island, my homeborough, Brooklyn. Back at another video. Now, as we all know, this year, 2023, commemorates the 50th anniversary of the creation of the genre of music known as hip hop. Over the last several weeks, I've been doing top 10 lists related to the hip hop genre. First, my top 10 greatest hip hop producers, my top 10 greatest rap albums, my top 10 greatest rap songs, my top 10 greatest rap duos / groups. And now, today is going to be the final installation of this series, my top 10 greatest rappers of all time. Now, I stress, this is my list. It's just my opinion. You're welcome to respectfully disagree in the comment section down below. Okay, with that being started, let's start at number 10. Number 10, O'Shea Jackson Sr., a.k.a. Ice Cube. Ice Cube, to me, is one of the most underrated and greatest MCs of all time. I mean, his career, of course, Ice Cube, for all you don't know, was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. He became infatuated with hip-hop in the 80s. In the mid-1980s, he was even part of a group called CIA, which is short for Crew in Action. He later linked up with one Mr. Dr. Dre, and they met a bunch of other people, and they formed the legendary rap group known as NWA, Niggas with Attitude. So you see Cube, see Dre, Easy in the middle, MC Ren in the back with the Dodgers hat, and then MC Ren. They went on to release their legendary debut album Straight Outta Compton in '88, which just celebrated its 35th anniversary a couple days ago. So check out that video on my channel. And after that, Cube left the group, pursued a solo career. He released the classic debut album, America's Most Wanted. And then after hearing NWA take shots at him on their 100 Miles and Running EP, Cube decided to fire back on his second solo effort, Death Certificate, on the track No Vaseline, which is one of the greatest diss tracks of all time. In '92, during the LA riot, Ice Cube released his classic album, The Predator, which had probably his most famous song on it, It Was a Good Day. In '93, he released Lethal Injection. But Ice Cube's impact isn't just on the mic, making records. He also contributed to hip-hop culture by giving us some of the greatest hip-hop related movies of all time. Films such as Boys in the Hood and Friday, which became cult classics. And Boys in the Hood, I believe the late John Singleton, was nominated for an Academy Award for that role for Best Director. Also films such as The Players Club, Barbershop, Are We There Yet, and so many more. All About the Benjamins, so many great movies Ice Cube's given us. And now he's doing work with the Big Three basketball. You know, Ice Cube, like I said, he has a classic album with NWA, Straight Outta Compton, and in my opinion, 4 straight classics. America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, The Predator, and Lethal Injection. 4 straight classic albums. A classic album with NWA. Ice Cube's one of the greatest and most influential MCs of all time. And I did a video on him a very long time ago, my greatest of all time series I did on Ice Cube. So check it out. So Mr. Cube, thank you for everything you've done for the hip hop genre. You know, you could argue, most people would probably say you're number 1, but to me, you're number 10. That leads us to number 9, Mr. Dwayne Michael Carter Jr., a.k.a. Lil Wayne. Born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, Wayne got his start in the mid-'90s with Cash Money Records and the group The Hot Boys with Juvenile, B.I.G, and Young Turk. And, of course, the label was ran by Birdman and his brother Slim. And the main producer was Manny Fresh. But at the time, when Wayne was with Cash Money, Juvenile was the top solo artist. You know, his classic joint, 400 Degrees, had the legendary track Back That Ass Up with Manny Fresh and Lil Wayne. Wayne released solo projects during this time, but he didn't really get the people's attention until the release of The Carter, which was released in 2004. And then he really made his claim as best rapper alive with the Carter 2 project. And I mean, Wayne's Carter series is legendary. The Carter 3, the Carter 4, just straight classics. Wayne's also helped change the mixtape game, which mixtapes like The Drought, No Ceilings, Sorry for the Wait, so many joints. The Dedication mixtapes. I mean, you see Wayne with the tattoos and the dreadlocks. I mean, he's one of the most influential and most copied MCs of all time. I mean, Future, Young Thug, the Migos, as Eminem said, Lil Pump, Lil Zane, imitate Lil Wayne. I can name every rapper in the game, pick a name. Lil Wayne's definitely one of the most influential MCs he's probably the most influential MC of the 21st century. Of course, Wayne also helped introduce us to 2 other future legendary rappers who helped change the game in their own way, Nicki Minaj and Drake. After years of struggles, Wayne finally releases 5 album in 2018. Songs like Don't Cry featuring XXXTentacion and Mona Lisa featuring Kendrick Lamar. That helps cement Lil Wayne's legacy as one of the greatest and most influential rappers of all time. And to me, he's number 9, and arguably he's number 1. But for me, Weezy, Tunchi, whatever you want to call him, he's number 9. Number 8, Mr. Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem. Born in Missouri but raised in Detroit, Michigan. Eminem was infatuated with hip hop culture from the mid '80s, from pretty much the inception of, or at least the beginning of mainstream hip hop. You see the Run DMC poster in the background. He was influenced by, Eminem's giving credit to everybody, Public Enemy, Run DMC, LL Cool J, Master Ace, Rakim, Slick Rick, so many other guys. You guys are starting the Detroit scene in the late 1980s, early 1990s. He was a battle rapper, all that, trying to make a name for himself. And it was at a battle rap contest in LA where he met the legendary Mr. Dr. Dre. They linked up together and they released M's major label debut album, Slim Shady LP. Eminem had released an album in '96 known as The Infinite. But it was this album with Dr. Dre that really got him his attention. Songs like Hi, My Name Is, and so many other ones. Eminem really stepped his game up on his legendary second album, the Marshall Mathers LP, which in my opinion is Eminem's best album. And then 2002 was, the year of Eminem. He released the Eminem Show, which is a diamond certified album, as is the Marshall Mathers LP. He had the hit movie 8 Mile, and he became the first rapper to win the Academy Award for Best Original Song for the song Lose Yourself, which is probably his signature song. And the Eminem Show had songs like Till I Collapse and Without Me, so on and so forth. Along the way, Eminem brought up many other people, such as Proof, the late Proof, and Obi Trice, the rest of his D12 crew members. Royce the 5'9", even though they had a little issue, they had a little falling out, they reunited after Proof's death, and made that Bad Meets Evil album. And of course, 50 Cent, who Dr. Dre initially didn't want to sign, but Eminem convinced him to, and 50 was signed to Shady Records, and 50 Cent went on one of the greatest runs in the history of hip hop. Now, after a retirement from hip hop due to drug issues, Eminem returned in 2009 with the album Relapse, in 2010 with the album Recovery, which to me his last classic album. Songs like Not Afraid, Made in Love the Way You Lie featuring Rihanna, just straight fire. Eminem's definitely one. Even though obviously Eminem's a white guy, a white boy, and maybe that's why some people may believe he doesn't get the respect he deserves, but to me that doesn't matter. He's definitely one of the greatest MCs of all time, if not the greatest MC of all time. But to me, he's number 8. Number 7, Andre Benjamin, aka Andre 3000 of OutKast. Now, this may be a controversial choice because Andre 3000 technically doesn't have a solo project, but to me, I don't care. The impact of him and Big Boy, their impact on hip hop is just too much to leave Andre out off the top 10. He met Antoine Patton, aka Big Boy, at a mall in Georgia in 1992. They linked up together, and they also linked up with the legendary Dungeon family. It was OutKast, Organized Noise Productions, and the Goody Mob, all living in a basement or a dungeon in a house in Atlanta, Georgia, where they just made records all day. OutKast got signed to LaFace Records in 1993, and the first single, Players Ball, got them mainstream attention. And Players Ball was the lead single on their legendary debut album, Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music. And because of this effort, OutKast won the Source Award for Best New Artist in 95, where Andre 3000 boldly stated, "The South got something to say. That's all I got to say. And boy, did it ever." OutKast went on one of the greatest runs in the history of hip-hop. They released ATLiens in 96, Aquemini in 98, and Stankonia in 2000. And this is the album that really got OutKast on the map, not just for hip-hop fans, but for people who probably weren't even hip-hop fans, because things with commercial hits like Miss Jackson and So Fresh and So Clean. And because of this, OutKast had released a greatest hits album to let the people who were just introduced to them go back, give them a chance to go look back at their old joints like Rosa Parks and Players Ball and Elevators. 2003, Big Boy and Andre worked on solo projects, Speaker Box Love Below, but the label decided to make it a double LP. So it became a double LP, and OutKast won the Grammy Award for Best Album because of this effort, and it's one of the few hip-hop albums to go diamond. So technically, The Love Below is a Andre 3000 solo tape, if you want to look at it. Of course, Hey Ya and Roses, so many great things. 2006, OutKast released their final album, Out of Wild, for the movie they did, Out of Wild. And after that, Andre 3000 kind of faded away. I mean, he made features, on Green Life by John Legend, I Do by Jeezy featuring Jay-Z, Party by Beyonce. He's worked with Kesha and Frank Ocean and Kanye West. He was on the Deuces remix, the Chris Brown Deuces remix. Andre 3000 features is something. When you see it, when you know Andre 3000 is gonna be featured on a new track, the hip hop world stops and goes checks out that track. Because Andre's gonna spit some dope shit. One of the greatest lyricists of all time, one of the most influential MCs of all time. Greatest of all time, arguably, but for me, he's number 7. Number 6, Rakim. I mean, a rapper's rapper. Your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. Born in New York, born on Long Island, New York in 1968. Rakim met Mr. Eric B, and they formed the duo Eric B and Rakim. And in 1970, released the classic album Paid in Full. They went on to release classic joints, just Follow the Leader and Don't Sweat the Technique. Then in 97, Rakim made a solo debut with his album The 18th Letter. For all you never heard this album, please give it a listen. It's a great record. Like I said, 100,000, or not 100,000, pardon me, Rakim, he introduced a new style of hip hop, a new laid back, smooth flow, focused on intricate lyricism, not all that hibbity, hoppity, hoppity, fast paced shit. A laid back, smooth flow. Laid back, I'm not even going to attempt to recite Rakim lyrics. But like I said, a rapper's rapper. All your favorite rappers, some of the guys on this list were influenced by Rakim. People like GZA, Raekwon, Ghostface, Nas, Eminem. So many other guys were influenced by Rakim. One of the greatest MCs of all time. Number 6, the God MC. Number 5, Jay-Z, Mr. Sean Carter. Born in the Marcy housing projects in Brooklyn, New York in 1969. Jay-Z got into the hip-hop world in the late 80s as a steward to young Mr. Jaz-O. But Jay-Z also always wanted soul success. So he left Jaz-O and released Dead Presidents 2 in 1994. Along the way, he met Dame Dash and Biggs. He went on to form Rockefeller Records. And to get the record label on the map, Jay-Z released the classic joint, Reasonable Doubt. One of the greatest debut albums and just greatest albums of all time in the history of hip-hop. But Jay-Z kept going at this rapping shit. After a failure sophomore album, In My Lifetime Volume 1, Jay-Z got super mainstream in the hip-hop world and beyond with the Volume 2 Hard Knock Life joint, supported by tracks like Money Cash Hoes and Hard Knock Life. In 99, he released Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter, supported by the single Big Pimpin', and Jay-Z's, he just kept climbing to eventually reach the top of the rap game. 2001, he released the Blueprint album. During this time, he was beefing with Prodigy and Nas, but this album had Izzo, HOVA, and Song Cry, and of course the Takeover, the Prodigy and Nas disc, classic joint, one of the greatest rap albums of all time. 2003, Jay-Z released his retirement album, The Black Album, with songs such as 99 Problems and Dirt Off Your Shoulder. Then he went into retirement. Came out of retirement, released a trash album, The Kingdom Come, joint 06, then returned to prominence with 2007's American Gangster and 2009 Blueprint 3 with songs like Run This Town and Empire State of Mind with Alicia Keys. He released his last album in 2017, 444, which was a very good album. Very good album. Will I call it a classic? Maybe, maybe not. That all depends on how you feel. But like I said, Jay-Z, one of the greatest, most influential MCs of all time. Straight out of Brooklyn, Brooklyn's finest. And one of the people who helped introduce the world to Jay-Z was none other than fellow Brooklynite, Christopher Wallace, a.k.a. the Notorious B.I.G., who's number 4 on this. He's, like I said, born in Brooklyn, New York, Bedford-Stuyvesant. Biggie always had a gift for lyricism, gift for hip-hop from a young age. In the early 90s, he released a joint called Party and Bullshit, which got the attention of Sean Combs, a.k.a. Puffy. And he had to sign this guy right away. His style, his flow, his charisma, his delivery was just something different. Okay, even though Biggie, was a hustler from Brooklyn who was selling dope, he didn't really like Puffy's R&B type records. He learned to live with it and released one of the greatest debut albums of all time, Ready to Die, supported by one of the greatest singles of all time, Juicy. Juicy and Big, became a superstar almost overnight. 1997, after his unfortunate death, he released the double LP Life After Death, which is, again, very unfortunate because it was after he passed away, after he was murdered in Los Angeles in 1997. But like I said, Big's legacy, one of the greatest MCs of all time, one of the greatest storytellers, one of the greatest lyricists. I mean, a complete rapper. He had the swag, the charisma. He was an extremely talented dude. Juicy, Who Shot Ya, Partying Bullshit, One More Chance, More Money, More Problems, Hypnotize, Sky's the Limit. We can go on and on. Fucking You Tonight. Brooklyn's Finest was a Jay-Z joint that Big was featured on, for all you don't know. I mean, Big Papa, of course. I love it when you call me Big Papa. Throw your hands in the air if you was a true player. Unfortunate that he left this world in 97. The reason he left this world because he was in a beef with the next rapper on this list, number 3, Mr. Tupac Shakur. Now, Tupac Shakur, born the son of a Black Panther in 1971 in East Harlem, New York. At the age of 9, his family moved to Baltimore, Maryland. And at 17, they moved all the way out to the Bay Area in California, where Pac got his start in hip-hop, working with the group Digital Underground. Eventually branched off solo, recorded his solo debut album, Tupacalypse Now. So whether that single, Brenda's Got a Baby. 93, he released the classic joint Strictly For My Niggas, with songs like Keep Your Head Up and Point the Finger, so many other joints. Pac, kind of like Big, kind of became a superstar overnight because of his controversies and also his movie roles. Movies such as Juice and Poetic Justice and Above the Rim. Pac was an extremely talented individual, rapping-wise, acting-wise, extremely talented. 1995, he released his album Me Against the World, which some would argue was his magnum opus. It had tracks like Dear Mama and Me Against the World, so many other things. But unfortunately, Pac was in jail during this time because of rape. Fortunately, got out of jail and released the legendary double LP All Eyes on Me. Of course, supported by the single, the classic song California Love featuring Dr. Dre. And like I said, during his time in prison, this was after Pac got shot and robbed in New York at Quad City Studios, and he believed Big set him up. And of course, Suge Knight poured gasoline on that fire, and Pac released one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, Hit 'Em Up. Grab your Glocks when you see Tupac. Call the cops when you see Tupac. But unfortunately, that thug life shit led to his demise, as he was shot on September 7, 1996 in Las Vegas, and he died 6 days later on September 13, 1996 at the age of 25. In 1998, they released his album Tupac Greatest Hits, which is one of the few hip-hop albums to go diamond, by the way. Tupac's legacy, like I said, one of the greatest, most influential MCs of all time. The thug life shit, the headbands, the shirtless stuff. I mean, Pac can make songs for the club like I Get Around. He can make deep songs like Dear Mama and Changes. He can make songs that make you angry like, Point the Finger and Hit 'Em Up, all types of shit. And he made songs for you just wanted to party, California Love. Definitely one of the greatest MCs of all time. But again, not number one. Arguably the greatest MC of all time, but to me, not number one. Number 2, Nasir Jones, a.k.a. Nas, Nasty Nas, Escobar, Esco, whatever you want to call him, Nostradamus, whatever. Born in Brooklyn, raised in the Queensbridge projects by his father, jazz musician Oludora Jones, Nas had a gift for music from a young age. After dropping out of high school in 10th grade, Nas decided to pursue a rap career because he was always a fan of writing and music. He made his debut on Live at the Barbecue by The Main Source, which was a feature. You never heard that song, go check it out. And that caught the attention of record label owners, and Nas released that song Halftime in 1992. After linking up with a team of producers, he released his legendary debut album, Illmatic, which of course changed hip-hop in itself, and to me is the greatest hip-hop album of all time. No question. It has songs like New York State of Mind, Halftime, It Ain't Hard to Tell, Life's a Bitch and Then You Die, featuring AZ and Oludora, his pops. It made Nas a superstar. And it was also during the middle of the East Coast Renaissance. 1996, Nas has most commercially successful album, It Was Written, supported by the single If I Ruled the World featuring Lauryn Hill. But it's also one of the greatest albums of all time, if you never heard it. In 1999, he released the album I Am, which was, I won't say a classic. It was a very good album. Had arguably Nas' best song, Nas' Like, on it. Around this time, Nas was beefing with fellow New York rapper Jay-Z. I'm not going to get into what, but Jay-Z was a fan of Nas. He was a stan of Nas. He wanted Nas to be featured on his song Dead Presidents 2. Nas didn't want to do it. Of course, he ended up sampling Nas, and he got hold of Carmen, Nas' baby mama, and I did a video on that stuff a very long time ago, but Jay-Z was a fan of Nas. He wanted Nas' attention by hook or by crook. He referenced Nas on every single album from 96 to 03, and finally Nas fired back. After releasing Takeover and Summer Jam 01, Nas fired back with Ether on December 4th, 2001, which was Jay-Z's birthday, and then a few weeks later his Stillmatic album came out. And Nas won the battle. Nas won the beef, to me. A lot of people say, oh no, Jay-Z really won. Takeover. Oh no, Takeover had more facts and all this bullshit. Look, if you know anything about their beef, you know Nas won that beef. Okay? 2002, Nas released Godson. First time he had back-to-back classics since dropping Illmatic, and then It Was Written. He continued to release albums such as the Double LP, Street's Disciple, the Hip Hop Is Dead album in 06, the Nigger album in 08, and then Life Is Good in 2012, which had songs like Cherry Wine featuring the late Amy Winehouse, which is a great song, by the way. Check it out. 2018, Nas released this album Nasir, which wasn't received well. After that, he linked up with Hit Boy, and Nas has been on career renaissance. I mean, King Disease 1, 2, and 3, Magic 1 and 2 albums. I mean, Nas and Hit Boy found something special. Nas is definitely, he's really more like 1A to me, but but there can only be one. Number 2. Now, number 1, if you know me, you know who my number 1 is. The late, great Earl Simmons, a.k.a. DMX. Why? He has 5 classic albums. It's Dark and Hell is Hot, supported by the single Rough Riders Anthem. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood in My Blood. 2 albums. He's the first living rapper to have 2 number 1 albums in the same year. Tupac did in 96, but he passed by the time Machiavelli came out. And then there was X, supported by the hit song, classic song Party Up in Here, The Great Depression, Grand Chance, supported by songs like Where the Hood At and Get It on the Flow, featuring Swizz Beatz. 5 straight classic albums. DMX was a guy, we never saw anybody like him before and never really saw anybody like him since. He had a lot of raw anger and passion in his raps, his gruff voice, his barking. This dude was super gifted, man. Super talented MC. Like I said, no Rough Riders Anthem, Where the Hood At, Party Up in Here, Get It on the Flow, Damien, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood My Blood, solo track, or title track, pardon me. Blackout featuring The Lox and Jay-Z. How We Be, which is on his Great Depression album. Already, which was on his Undisputed album in 2012. Just one of the greatest MCs of all. To me, DMX is the greatest rapper of all time. I know that may be controversial, but that's just my opinion. But anyway, that's going to be it. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the series, please let me know. Go back and check out my other series, my top 10 rap producers, rap songs, rap albums, rap duo/groups. Like this video, subscribe. Hip hop's given us so much. I know it's had its negative effects, but it's also had its positive effects as well. Happy 50th anniversary, hip hop. See you all.